Welcome into the WJHL Digital Center here on WJHL Plus for this week's edition of Tri-Cities This Week. I'm Casey Marler. We get together to discuss topics that are important to the folks in the state of Tennessee and all the work being done in Nashville each week and try to make sense of the busy work being done in the State House. Today, we're joined by David Huck from District 5, a representative here representing Greene County. Representative Huck, thank you very much for taking time for us.
Casey, thank you as always. Appreciate the team putting this together. It's
Yeah.
going to be fun.
Give us kind of a little run through for the first 3 weeks. It seems like you all hit the ground running in the 114th General Assembly session, and you haven't slowed down since.
Doesn't happen very often, but we had bills the first day of session, and we went right to the floor and started debating and had some healthy debate on some issues. It's always interesting when you get back to a legislative session. We've not seen each other since the full body since back in April or May of the last year prior. So it's kind of like the first day of school. You get to go back and see everybody. You got your new shoes and new backpacks on and ready to go, and then in a few weeks we'll get tired of each other. But first weeks back are always good.
Any highlights for you for the first 3 weeks? Anything that kind of stood out in the work being done?
Well, surprisingly, even with the weather, we've had a lot of folks from Northeast Tennessee travel to the Capitol. We had some state employees there this past week. We've had some educators from Northeast Tennessee come to the Capitol. A lot of folks come to hear Governor Lee give his final State of the State address. So we were very well represented from Northeast Tennessee and Nashville over the last couple of weeks.
Always good for the citizens of Northeast Tennessee to hear that. Great work being done here for our part of the state. You know, we talk about all of the legislation coming and going, but it's hard to make any of it happen without the budget, without money to pay for it. And so let's start there with the proposed budget for the new session. As you've taken a look at it and seen some of where the money's being allocated, what stands out and how do you hope this moves forward for the people in Northeast Tennessee and more specifically Greene County that you represent?
Over my years of service, 15 of the last 16 years, I've been able to serve on our Finance Committee and many of those on the Budget Subcommittee where we get to really go in depth and dissect that budget document. Governor Lee has put forth a just south of $58 billion budget, really, which is less than it was last year. We're not seeing some of those federal dollars that we had seen the last 4 or 5 years from COVID and stimulus and dollars like that. So we're back to what is more a realistic state budget in terms of typical state revenues, typical federal revenues that are coming in. We're still digging out from Hurricane Helene. So there are funds available, continuation of funds available for Northeast Tennessee to help us rebuild. We're looking at roads and bridges, although we've come back in a very good way from losing so many infrastructure pieces from Hurricane Helene. There's still some things to do. Something that is kind of keenly in my radar is the David Crockett Birthplace State Park. And I know that's an issue that is near and dear to many folks from all of Northeast Tennessee. It's in Greene County. It's also, you have to go between Washington County and Greene County to get there, but the Limestone community specifically. The Birthplace State Park just washed off the face of the map, and very pleased that along with Finance Commissioner Jim Bryson, who has some ties to Northeast Tennessee, who used to be over state parks, we've put $62 million in this budget to create a rebirth of the David Crockett Birthplace State Park. So that's something that was good to see. The budget document itself has lots of ins and outs, and happy to discuss whatever you like, Casey.
Well, let's focus on the Davy Crockett Birthplace State Park for a minute. You mentioned $62 million. The importance not only of a place to go have fun and enjoy family time, but just almost a symbol of the rebirth and rebuild following Hurricane Helene. How important is that to Greene County, Northeast Tennessee, and the Tri-Cities? They've had some small victories. when we get to announce there's maybe a special hike or a section opening. What's that like for you personally, and what does it mean for the community to have that kind of money allocated to something that we can physically see we're coming back after Hurricane Helene?
For me, it can't happen soon enough. And I am a bit frustrated, although we've gone through the planning stages and we're doing it the right way. But I think it's a huge symbol of our region coming back to full steam and full speed ahead after Hurricane Helene. The park itself is going to be different. The master plan has been put out, and WJHL has done a great job of showing that and having that online for folks to access. We took the park, the 105 plus acres there at David Crockett Birthplace State Park, and said, if you could do something to the park, where would you put what? And having a blank slate, we've come together with what I feel is a fairly good plan. It's never going to be a perfect plan, but it's really going to show our region to the rest of the country and the rest of the world, really, that we're back. I think the Crockett story itself is just so fascinating. I keep the mantra in my office: be always sure you're right, and then go ahead. And that was Crockett's legacy, was just good old Northeast Tennessee common sense, gather all the facts and make qualified decisions from that. And history has proven that Crockett has been right. I think that it's a great legacy to ensure that property gets rediscovered in the next several years.
Well, certainly exciting for those of us here that have a history of spending time at that park, and we're so devastated when we saw what happened after Hurricane Helene, to see you help bring money to help refurbish that park and get it back on its feet again. Earlier this week was Governor Bill Lee's final State of the State address, as he talked about some of the successes he's had over his nearly 8 years and what to look forward to going forward. We'd like to talk a little bit about, with Representative Hawk, the Certificate of Public Need as it relates to the state of Tennessee and where we stand with that. Here is Governor Lee talking about a Certificate of Public Need, and we'll get Representative Hawk's thoughts on it.
Rural Tennessee's growing. Our communities need more options. But right now, if a doctor wants to open a new clinic in a rural county, or if your hospital wants to build an imaging center closer to the families that need it, existing Certificate of Need laws make that nearly impossible. These laws were created over 50 years ago to prevent hospital overbuilding, but today what they do is block investment. They limit competition. They leave rural communities with few or even zero choices. Since the year 2000, Certificate of Need laws have turned away nearly $1.5 billion in healthcare investment in our state. Those are clinics that were never built, beds that were never added, care that never came. States like Texas and Florida, they got government out of the way. And as a result, their rural communities have more hospitals and more surgery centers and more options to care for their people. This General Assembly began reforming these laws years ago. We should finish the job for rural Tennessee, and we should finish it now.
That is Governor Lee's thoughts on a Certificate of Need. I saw you shaking your head there, nodding your head as you listened to the governor speak to that, something that really hits straight to the core of health and wellness in Northeast Tennessee. Your first thought as you listen to Governor Lee speak again today and then earlier this week?
I agree with everything he said. It is certainly a game changer for Northeast Tennessee. And as he stated earlier, when Certificates of Need took on a national effort decades ago, the intent was pure, to try to not oversaturate a particular market. What it has unfortunately done is kept business stifled and not allowed hospitals, physician operations and things of that nature to come into a region, and it's been quite detrimental to us in Northeast Tennessee. So in terms of a proposal, we have had these bills before us for quite some time. I'm actually sponsoring a piece of legislation that would do a full repeal of the certificate of need. Had it for 4 or 5 years now. And we've got a time frame to repeal the certificates of need. But what Governor Lee is talking about in his comments there and what we hope to see for a proposal is going to be a full repeal of certificate of need, allow business and investment to occur across the state of Tennessee. But where I feel specifically we need some help is in Northeast Tennessee. I will state that I think this is something that's additionally going to allow us to draw down some federal dollars. When Congress and President Trump pushed forth the big beautiful bill, as it's known, it was $50 billion in a rural health initiative to go across the whole country. So $50 billion. Tennessee's portion of that, 1 of 50, would be $1 billion. So as we move forward with the hopeful repeal of certificate of need, it will make us eligible for year one, roughly $206 to $209 million of that first tranche of money to come to Tennessee, which will specifically go toward improving rural health outcomes.
It seems you've been ahead of the curve on this when you talk about trying to repeal the certificate of need for half a decade. What's the final step? They always say, in the mountain, the toughest climb is the last. How do you get this over the hump? How do you sell it? And what is it? What would be the immediate needs and help here in Northeast Tennessee if you were to get a bill passed to repeal the certificate of need?
Well, the immediate needs that I can see would be the acute care facilities, which means our hospitals. That's been the one stumbling block that has kept us from the precipice of the top of that mountain, is being able to have the certificate of need removed for those acute care facilities. Once we get that removed, then it opens up the whole country to look at Northeast Tennessee, say, hey, we've got an opportunity to increase competition in healthcare in Northeast Tennessee. We've got a facility model that has operated successfully in XYZ state or even another part of Tennessee. And they can come in, look at our demographics, look at where healthcare needs are not being met, and say, hey, we would like to come in and fulfill these particular needs in Northeast Tennessee. And to that point, Southwest Virginia. I think there's some great opportunity to work in this region to allow other individual hospital groups to come in and put forth a plan that I feel will help the health of our citizens.
Where's the pushback? Obvious. It seems obvious, but if it was that easy, it would have been done a long time ago, right? What is the defense against ending this 50-year-old certificate of need in the state of Tennessee, and how do you overcome that?
Well, the pushback is turf. It's a battle over turf. You've got some folks that are in that space now that think, hey, we're doing fine the way we are. We don't need any competition. And I understand that. When an organization is a monopoly, they don't want to have competition because they can make all the decisions themselves, good or bad, and we all have to live with them. So I feel confident that the pushback has been coming from individuals who enjoy having a monopoly. I think the push forward needs to come from those of us who want to see competition and ultimately choice for our families to have better health care in the region.
As we looked at the budget earlier in the program, as you watched Tri-Cities This Week, today we are with District 5 State Representative from Tennessee, David Hogg. At the very top of the list, as it usually is education. You've been a champion of education for our region in Greene County the entire time you've had a voice in Nashville. Give us kind of the state of the school voucher program as they try to expand it, and how we continue to try to improve education for everyone in our region, a place that's almost completely dominated by public education.
Exactly right, Casey. Public education is so important in Northeast Tennessee, and we have been fortunate over our years of service that we've got strong educators, strong educational systems, and we do well. I was listening to a story earlier today, ironically, that the push to create the municipal school districts that we have in Northeast Tennessee between Greenville City Schools and Greene County Schools, Kingsport City Schools, Bristol City Schools, and Sullivan County Schools, Johnson City Schools, as well as Washington County Schools. Some of that push 80 years ago was to bring a particular level of education that folks wanted in our region, and we've been thriving. I don't want to say we're perfect, and folks that are in the education business, they realize that we need to stay on top of this and get better every day. But I think we're blessed in Northeast Tennessee. The rest of the state has had their challenges. They didn't take those steps 75 years ago to create additional choice in terms of schools and school systems, and they have been lagging behind. The Memphises of the world, Nashville, some of the larger metropolitan areas, they've been struggling over the last decades. And in my 24 years of service, we've been trying to fix education in Memphis that whole time. And it's become generational, where you've got second, third, fourth generations of some families that are just in a struggling area. So I can see where Governor Lee wants to move forward, trying to help families that have been struggling generationally. I disagree with his universal plan to bring vouchers to everywhere. I'm one of those that thinks if it ain't broke, don't fix it type situation. So I would like to see more of a precise, this is where we need to do some work, this is where we need to do some work, as opposed to potentially putting our districts in Northeast Tennessee in harm's way by losing a handful of students through a voucher program. That being said, the General Assembly voted in favor of it without my support. Last year, I believe Governor Lee has in the budget document an extra $155 million to expand from 20,000 available vouchers to 40,000 available vouchers. That plan will be thoroughly debated over the next 3 months, I would say, and we'll see where it ends up. On the top line item to education itself, I think it is important to see the investment that we have made still in public education. We have now been able to get to that first-year teacher, and he or she will make a base salary of $50,000. That had been a goal of Governor Lee when he started his service 8 years ago, was to get to that base salary. 8 years ago, that base salary was $37,500. And now we've got that $50,000 a year beginning salary for first-year teachers is where we need to be in terms of competition with other states around us. And to that point, you've got school systems within our region competing with each other and adding a little bit more to that, trying to get the best of the best teachers in our region. So it's going to be good for Tennessee. I'm still not sold on the voucher plan, but we'll see where the conversation goes. At this point, I'm not in favor of that part of the plan, but I will largely support public education with the budget that's been presented.
Final couple of minutes here with State Representative David Hogg. Speak directly to your constituents in Greene County and beyond, and the work you're doing and some of the things you're most proud of this year and over your time.
One of the big issues that I've got this year is transportation. And I joke, over my length of service, Finance Committee has been my main committee, and I've loved that work, and I really get into the minutia of the budget document itself. But in the other time frame, my other committee, I've been chairman. I've chaired a committee on conservation and environment. I've chaired a committee on TennCare. I've chaired a committee on insurance and health, and most recently was named a chairman of a subcommittee on transportation. And as indicative by what we went through with Hurricane Helene and the need for infrastructure, as well as what we're seeing on your road right now as you're driving around, the potholes that you're seeing both on county, state, and federal roads. We've got to do more to make investment to not only maintain our roads, but to improve our roads. Our area of Northeast Tennessee is growing by the tens of thousands every year. We're seeing folks come in. We're seeing traffic that we've never seen in our history. I don't ever want us to become like Knoxville, where you never know if you're going to get through Knoxville in a timely manner or not. So I want us to be able to handle the growth that we're having in Northeast Tennessee through our roads and infrastructure. To that vein, I've got a bill that will take the sales tax on cars. So whenever you go buy a car right now, those sales taxes go into a general fund. I want to see those sales taxes dedicated specifically toward a transportation fund. What that is in just generic ballpark terms, it's $1 billion a year that would be specifically dedicated toward transportation. What we've done in Tennessee over the last 4 years already is take $3 billion from a Transportation Modernization Act and put those toward transportation. We've taken $1 billion of general fund dollars to put toward this budget on transportation needs, which really saved us Hurricane Helene. We were able to pay cash to rebuild some of the bridges in our region and work on some of the roads, so we didn't have to wait for those federal dollars to come in. So the only problem, those dollars were not recurring. What my bill does is create those dollars as recurring. We've seen the budget document has been able to accept that need and funded it very well. Governor Lee has put forth an additional $400 billion in transportation needs, but it's non-recurring. I'm just trying to give the administration and my folks on Finance Committee another little nudge and say, let's just do that every year and not just say 1 year at a time. Let's do it every year. So that's going to take a lot of my time during this legislative session, and we'll see how that goes.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule for us to make sense of some of the legislation we see coming across your desk and through Nashville. And hopefully we can get together and talk again later in the session, give us a little update on how everything's going. And we appreciate the work you do for Greene County and the Tri-Cities in making our life the very best that it can be.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate you and your team. You always do such a great job. And it's good to get the word out. As folks know, we've got some of the most accessible legislators in Northeast Tennessee. We want to hear from you. If you want to come to Nashville, see us. We're back home at the grocery stores, at church, at ball games on the weekend. So we'll see you wherever you want to see us, but just give us a call.
State Representative David Hawk from District 5, Greenville in Greene County. Thank you very much for taking time for us, Representative Hawk. You've been watching Tri-Cities This Week as we get together every week to discuss legislation from the newsmakers and policymakers throughout Tennessee and Virginia. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.